Welcome to Expat Hoops, the show where we talk professional basketball with players who played outside the U.S. Today we're talking with former University of Rhode Island player Delroy James. He attended the Portsmouth Invitational along with several of our past guests before starting his career overseas in Israel. He played all over, including a stint in the G League, South Korea, and Turkey. He last played for Greek team Prometheus in the city of Paltras. We're happy to welcome Delroy to the show today to talk about all this. Delroy, welcome to Expat Hoops.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man. It's pretty dope.
Well, thank you for coming on. So we talked a little bit before the pod, and it's probably the natural place to start. We'll talk to you a little bit about high school, but one thing that's interesting to me is from your bio, it says that you really only started playing basketball when you were a sophomore in high school. Is that true?
Yeah, that's 100% true. The thing is, growing up in New York, you never know how far you could go with basketball. I've played it since I was younger in the parks, and that's the thing. You play in the parks and you not dominate the park, but you win games in the park and you feel accomplished during the day. And I'm like, damn, I had a good day. I went undefeated in the park. And at that young age, you just go outside. It's very different than today. You go outside, you play in the park, and you spend your days there, and that's it. Now, kids is living on social media, living on stuff like that. The dynamic has changed. So I'm very appreciative of how I grew up in the park. So I wouldn't take ball serious. I went to Robertson High School, and in my sophomore year, just walking around, I played basketball in the gym class, and then the JV coach was like, hey, just play JV. So I played JV then, had a good JV career. Never really played varsity in Robeson at all. So just then I started playing AAU outside of the school, and someone like, yo, get your grades together. You could go to college for free. And then hearing that, I'm like, all right, I guess. And then I took basketball more serious from there on. Played AAU with Juice All-Star, who had battled against DC Assault, just had battles against everyone at the time. Seeing a young Sebastian Telfair, like just played with a bunch of people and seeing that, it's like, all right, you take this serious. You have some solid talent right now, and sky's the limit.
You mentioned Sebastian Telfair. When you played against him, what was that like?
Never played against him, played with him.
Played with him?
Oh.
Yeah. It was Juice All-Star. I was from a Coney Island team, and he was the face of the franchise for a long time until Lance Stevenson took it over. We was coached by his high school coach, Tiny Morton, who I'm still close to till this day. He coached Lincoln. He coached Lincoln with all them championship. Isaiah Whitehead, Lance Stevenson. We was coached by him. And so I played with Bashan. I played with him in Rumble in the Bronx. I played with him in some other tournaments playing with Juice All-Star. They were top heavy at that time. And everybody was literally watching us. Like, we had this Brooklyn tournament called Bro Day. We always went this one-day thing in the summertime. It was crazy. Bash really put us on the map, and he's helped how big Juice has got. People don't know how really he helped that and helped many kids just being who he is at the time as an 18, 19-year-old superstar in the game of amateur sport.
It's Telfair. I mean, the hype about him when he was in high school, he was basically, other than LeBron, he was the most hyped guy.
He was the second coming, right? And he got, honestly, people always say how he turned out in the NBA was a bust, but I would never view it that way. He got what he got out of it. He dominated in high school, got drafted as a lottery pick, spent 9 to 10 years in the NBA. The hype in high school never translated into, like, let's say LeBron, but was able to do many, many things for the community, for his family. I will always look at him as the biggest success story. He has one of the greatest documentary to my liking, and many other people from in the basketball era caught Through the Fire, where it hit home and you see, like, damn, like, he really, really worked his tail off to get to where he's at. So the hype of him being the second coming, like being like how Braun is today, of course he didn't live up to that, but I would never call him a bust. Like, being a 6'0" guard, getting drafted out of lottery pick from Brooklyn, New York, success story in its own.
Now I'm about to go on a tangent here because this is an interesting topic to me. I've thought about this a little bit. That era between 1997 and 2003, before the one and done rule came into effect in the NBA. Right. It's such a weird era for drafting guys. And I'm personally of the opinion that a lot of guys came into the NBA. Maybe they were ready, maybe they weren't. But the teams weren't ready for them either.
Yes.
Right.
You know, those young
It-
guys that had all this talent and all this hype coming in, they still need development. They still need to be taught. You know,
the thing,
they're still a student of the game,
the
essentially.
thing, the thing of that time is the players was moving faster than the time would let them.
Hmm.
So you had like a Eddie Curry, you had a Tyson Chandler who moved around before he really fell into Tyson Chandler, who he is. There's so many high school players that got drafted lottery that honestly, if they were drafted today, they'll have better careers. Just because there's so many stuff. It's like I can remember a guy 04 got drafted, Robert Swift, was able to run the floor, jump, shoot, do all this stuff at 7 feet. And agile, could put the ball on the floor, but at that time it's like he was just softer. It's like small ball with small ball basketball today would help some of those players because you could dominate one area, you could play the game you know how to play, and you could just fit in. Like basketball is becoming so positionless. Like you look at the games today, it's like who's the point guard? You got possessions where LeBron is bringing up the court. You got possessions where KD is bringing up the court. You got possessions where Kawhi is bringing up the court. Then you got question with a point guard. All of them could initiate the offense. Every single person on the court. So those type of players back then, it would really help them today. And there's so many busts you will say, or people that didn't pan out. I remember I want to say 2001. What's the year Kwame Brown was drafted?
That sounds probably about right, but
2000.
might be
It
about
was either
2000
or 2001.
Right. The first 5 pick he was number 1, and it was high school. Like it was ridiculous. It was like, yo, are you guys not looking at college? You got Mecca Okafor 1 draft, not 04, and then Ben Gordon, all these players. High school is just dominating it, is because everybody's like, I think that's what translated into potential drafting. No more seniors or juniors in college, a potential draft now. And then 04, all those high school get picked, and then they put the one and done rule in, and then now everything is a one and done. Now we have one and done players. Instead of high school players, we have one and done players now.
It was 2001. Kwame Brown was number 1 overall. Tyson Chandler straight out of number 2.
School.
Paul Gasol international. Eddie Curry at 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Then you go down to Desagna Diop, who was technically out of Oak Hill at 8. I mean, Rodney White was a freshman at 9. Eddie Griffin was a freshman at 7.
From Seton Hall, correct?
Yep. Jason Richardson was a sophomore at 5. The first college senior off the board was Shane Jadier at 6.
Right. I remember.
And then after that, I'm not seeing a senior until 18 at Jason Collins.
Yeah, that's when it happened. Around those times, like, all right, we're gonna go young. And then that's how it ended up being so much buzz out of that year, that class. You'll remember Tyson Chandler, Shane, and Paul Gasol.
And I know that I read an article not that long ago about Eddie Curry, about some of the struggles. Yeah. Exactly, of like the Bulls were not prepared for him.
Or Tyson at the same time. So much money you coming into an 18-year-old who's just happy with buying a PlayStation at the time. They're still kids. And then you could get whatever car you want. You could get this, you could get that. It's ridiculous. So I think those players won't know it, but they've helped shape the times of today in helping these kids today, like how to really manage everything. You know what I'm saying? And just like the NBA, that's how they're implementing this D-League thing. All right, if you don't go to college, you come to D-League. It's the same type of structure, help you with a lot of stuff. And the players had the talent, for sure. Eddie Curry could have played in the NBA. For sure, all those players drafted could have played. But the mental of the basketball, the mental side of the team and the player was not there at all. That's why it's always so astonishing to me to LeBron to be who LeBron is.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And actually, let me throw another name at you, too, in terms of somebody that might be considered a bust. Had some good years, but OJ Mayo, he might be considered somewhat of a bust. He's still playing overseas, I believe.
He's in China making great money and still playing the game that he loved. Had a great NBA career. Not great NBA career, but a good NBA career, solid NBA career. Played on good teams. But this is the thing. That's the hype that comes along with it. Like people, if you don't become, whenever you get pegged the next Michael Jordan, the next LeBron James, you know it's so much. That's why Zion Williamson, he's in for it. Like, because if Zion Williamson ended up being, let's say, have a career like, let's say, Carmelo Anthony, who's a Hall of Famer, surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, people would look at that as a bust.
Yep.
That's what comes with just the hype of the thing. You put people on such pedestal, and then when, of course, he's talented, but how you'll consider him becoming a career like Carmelo Anthony a bust? You know how much pressure that's on a kid. That's why I always say, like, yo, Bron took that pressure, and to what he's become, to being, many people could argue, not myself, I think Michael Jordan's a GOAT, him being the greatest basketball player of all time, to be widely considered top 2 or 3 ever. You can't knock that man for nothing he does.
Yeah, in that era when all of those players came in, they were all trying to catch lightning in the bottle, because you had all these Hall of Famers like Garnett and Kobe Bryant
Still
and
there.
Tracy McGrady coming into the league as high schoolers, bypassing college, coming in, and in the first year or two being these guys that are franchise-changing players. And everybody was like, oh, this high school kid, get the hype train going so they can get into the team, get top 5 draft pick, and then they're going to be like, oh, this is going to be the next Kobe. This is going to be the next Garnett. That's not always the way it works. We all know that.
But the thing with all those, they took their lumps. I remember Kobe as a rookie was sitting on the bench, took his lumps.
I remember he airballed a couple times.
3 times against the Jazz.
Yeah.
Against the Jazz in the playoffs, he took his lumps. KG took his lumps, and Tracy didn't even play that much his first year. But the thing with those guys, and I feel like people would never think about it, Kobe Bryant wouldn't be Kobe Bryant if he didn't get traded to the Lakers.
That's true.
Like many of these players,
I always forget about that, actually.
Many of these players, you have to go with a system, and you have to, at that age, you have to find someone willing to work with you. But one thing Kobe had, he always want to work with himself. But you get drafted to the Lakers, and then you get Phil Jackson, who came in, that just finished coaching Michael Jordan. Kobe's at the time. People don't realize, 2000, Kobe won his first championship. He was 20 years old, 21 years old. He won a 3-peat next to Shaq, being coached by Phil Jackson. 3 championships by the age of 22, 23. That's ridiculous. You're supposed to come out of college as a senior at 22. He got 3 championships seasoned, and knowing what he want to do at 22, 23. Come on. Like, how do you deal with that? He had the world at his palms at the time, like playing in big games, averaging 3rd hit at 22 in the playoffs. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous when you sit back and think about it. And people don't know, like, damn, he was really just 22. A lot of players can't come in and do that right away, but what helped him is where he was drafted. Yeah, the structure system. You had Jerry West, people that have been through it. Like, yo, we're going to show you a formula to just keep your mind straight. And he got drafted to LA. Like, can you imagine? Like
that's tough. I was going to say, as much as it helps that the Lakers were there in order to put the structure in place, the flip side of that is LA is a hell of a place to be at 18 years old with money.
Come on.
And all that pressure too.
Come on.
Yeah.
It don't, like, that's ridiculous. Man, so it's more powers to him. Like, Braun was still close in Cleveland. Melo got to Denver. Tracy's in Toronto. You know what I'm saying? But Kobe was in LA. It's like getting
KG's in Minnesota. There's not much to do in Minnesota.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. Can you imagine if a Knicks team draft one of these high, you know what I'm saying? It's pressure. It's pressure. That it's the city, it's the town, it's everything. So when making the NBA to some of those high profile players is hard, and it's a journey. But staying there and becoming, like, you know how they handing out money so ridiculously nowadays. So some players honestly just play for that next contract. It's not many players you're looking at that's willing to build a legacy or trying to build a legacy. How many legacy players we have in the NBA now? Like, legacy type players. We have LeBron, we got Kevin Durant, Greek, Kawhi.
Giannis.
Yeah, Greek, Kawhi. Maybe Kyrie, maybe trying.
I was gonna make that joke, but I wasn't sure if I should make it. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe Kyrie, like, but
maybe Karl Anthony Towns is a little early for him, but
See, that's what I'm saying. Early, you got a legacy type players that's like, he's playing for his legacy. You know what I'm saying? And that's not an easy thing to do. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. The NBA, but it's in a good place. There's a lot of young talent that's gonna keep it going.
I do want to point out that we're having this specific conversation while you're wearing a shirt that says "Blame Society." I just find that to be very ironic, as we're having this specific conversation about what
trying
affects,
to get it in there.
Yeah, there you go.
It affects everything, man.
Mm-hmm.
It affects everything.
For sure.
It's craziness.
I'm very happy that we got to geek out about high school basketball. We haven't done that much in the pod, but I'm a huge high school basketball nerd, as is Andy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the game though. Other than playing and all that, I know
Mhm.
I know my history about most players and most things. Everything where I've been around, I've tried to like keep a little stuff in my mind. That's why the PG County, my college days, where I've been overseas, all that stuff is just little stuff implanted that shaped me.
So, I mean, segueing to getting on the radar for college, especially given the jerseys are right behind you, wind up at Rhode Island. What was that process like in terms of what was your recruitment, and how did Rhode Island become at the forefront and
It was
ultimately be the right choice for you?
It's the greatest choice I ever made, and it was dope, man. Because like I said, you like before picking a school, 3.5, 4 years later, I'm just playing JV, just doing all this stuff. So then playing with Juice All Star. Then the summer before I go to Lombard Prep, I just switched AAU. I started playing with student athlete Broncos. My mentor at the time was just telling me, hey, you could stay with Juice or you could go to these camp. I went to 5-star, won a great amount of awards, most promised prospects, like won great awards in 5-star that kept put me on the map to like some teams and colleges. But then the summer before I went to Lombard, I went to all the big tournaments and I was our leading scorer, just playing confident, just playing hell of a basketball. And I'm sitting around, just in my mind, in my own mind, like, you really, D1 just coming and coming and coming, and like, yo, you really gonna go to school for free? And it was a surreal feeling. So, like, Coach Scary, he had me to commit before I even visit the school. This is how, like, he's like, yo, you're our guy. Like, I want you. Like, I see blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I'm not talking to that much schools at the time. Like, I'm getting letters, I'm hearing offers, but I'm not. St. John's, I took unofficial to St. John's, and I just picked up the phone. I think it was like August 6th or 7th, 2005, maybe. I picked up the phone, was like, yo, coach, I'm coming. And he was just so ecstatic, and I felt at home. It was just only one thing about my recruitment with Rhode Island that messed up. Like, so I ended up going to Lombard, where we was in preseason ranked as a prep school. We ended up finishing 26-1, finished 4th. We had Phil Jones, we had a bunch of other D1 players. So we're playing, and all these schools is coming to see Phil Jones. He's a top 80 center at the time. Kentucky, Miami, all of them is filling the place up to see Phil. I'm committed, signed at the time of Rhode Island. And in the practices, I'm just playing basketball. I'm playing my game, like just playing my game, killing, doing the job. But I'm the only one committed at the time. And all these schools are here for other players because, we had a good squad. I remember Kentucky and Miami told my head coach and prep school at the time, like, yo, tell him get out his recruitment. Kentucky said they'll offer me a scholarship. Miami said they'll offer, if he tell Rhode Island, let him out his letter intent, he got a scholarship. And it was just so surreal to me, like, wow, like, that's crazy. I remember I called Scary, like, hey, this stuff is happening. What do you think? He's like, I'm not letting you out. And he just hung up the phone. And I laughed at it because I knew I was never serious because my mom was all set on going to Rhode Island anyway. But it was just funny. He's like, I'm not letting you out. And he just hung up the phone. And we never spoke about that conversation ever again. It was just a funny thing. That's why, like, Scary's my guy, man. And he's helped me a lot from my first year, having to sit out and all that stuff in college. Scary was just that's my dog. Like, he really saved my life.
It's kind of interesting. And Kentucky coach at that time, was that Gillespie?
No, I think it was Tubby.
Tubby. Oh, okay.
I think it was Tubby. Yeah, I believe it was Tubby.
Trying to remember the timeline.
Yeah, it was. I want to say it was from October to like December 2005.
Okay.
I believe it was Tubby.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Because I think that's actually the year that Tubby was fired. It might have been like his last season.
Yeah. I think the Miami coach was, Coach Hernandez. That was the assistant that was at the practice.
Was that Frank Haith at that point in time?
That was Frank. Yeah, that was Coach Haith. Yep.
Gotcha.
That was Coach Haith for sure. I knew that one for sure.
Yeah. So actually, I have to break in here for a minute. I did get a message back. Liana says hi.
No.
Breaking news.
Yes.
Breaking.
And I know we talked before the pod a little bit about that story. We'll probably cut that up and everything, but I know that you said that you've got a lot of favorable memories of your time at Rhode Island.
Oh yeah, it's them years, man. Some days I wish I could go back. I'll never. Well, a lot of people say while they're in college they wanted to end, but I never wanted to end. I felt so. You ever felt so comfortable and at ease at a place, and that's what it was for me. Like every time I go back, there's nostalgia, and I just look like, oh man, this was great times. Like if the campus could talk, if the gym could talk, if everybody like you just sit down and relive the memories, pick here for the day. It was pretty dope.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's something to it. I mean, every once in a while when I go back to Mason's campus and everything like that, there's a certain feeling about like you just kind of remember what it was like to be there at that point in time. And
I've actually played with a guard that went to George Mason.
which
and
one?
he was following Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was big. Yeah, he was on that Final Four squad.
Yep.
He's one
he
of
actually lives in Montgomery County with the two of us. Yep.
He was just up here like last summer. Like we still very close and still talking all that stuff. Yep. And this year I was with someone from PJ County on my team in Greece, Danny Aglablese. He was on my team. He's from PG County. He ended up going to he went to Howard. I'm in Hampton. I'm sorry. He went to Hampton. He's from PG County. Yep. Very good player. He's still on the team right now. I knew him before, but got pretty closer. But he's from the county.
Interesting.
Yep.
So,
so
Tony,
you
I
went,
don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I was about to get into it. So you graduated, or you were URI. You left in 2009.
2011.
2011. Okay, 2011. Yep. So you go through your experience at URI. You had a great time there.
Mm-hmm.
You get ready for Portsmouth, the Invitational.
Right.
That's the NBA draft. Essentially, prep. I don't want to call it a combine because that's
kind of. You could say it's
same kind of idea. Same kind of idea
for seniors. Correct.
Yeah, but you go there. It's a place where you go to get an agent. You go to get seen. What was that like for you leaving URI, trying to get into the professional ranks?
Oh, it was pretty simple in terms of like the agency stuff. I knew who I was going to sign with before, mainly because my brother was playing overseas at the time. He'd been through the little 1-2, and I knew I was going to sign with the agency CAA at the time, and me playing my college year. Again, Portsmouth was pretty big, just being recognized out of 64 seniors, one of the top seniors in the country. And Portsmouth, honestly, it went well. Before Portsmouth, I wanted to say, I don't know how much workouts I had, but I ended up having 16 or 17. And it was amazing, man. It was pretty dope. I had a great Portsmouth. I made all tournament team there. Jimmy Butler was there. He got MVP. We lost in the first round.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Exactly. We lost in the first round or the second round. And it honestly, that and also the combine I went after that, the Nets combine, it just proves to me that no matter where I ended up in basketball, if the right opportunity permits itself, I could have been okay in the NBA. And it's not because of nothing, but just playing against quote unquote the best. And I felt that way in college also. Playing against Duke in college, playing against Florida in college, and playing against players that many would consider the best at their position or the best doing it. And then I'm playing against it, and I'm like, all right, if you guys say he's that good, and I know I'm holding my own or sometimes outplaying some of these players, what does that make me? And that was the only time I could have sensed that other than just full athletic ability and basketball skills and the eye test of that player can play, it goes beyond that. It goes who you know. For some players, it's a political side to it. And it's very political side to it. And I've seen a player like myself, I feel like at that time, I've seen only the political side. I got the workouts, I got my door in, but I didn't have the political side to push me over the top, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to kind of coming full circle with this conversation, we were talking about Telfair and the hype machine.
Right.
He wouldn't have ended up where he was if the hype didn't exist. You can be as good of a basketball player as Telfair,
right?
But like the hype machine's got to go in your favor to get
one thing though.
That foot in the door.
That's the thing though. For some, okay, I won't say it's a hype machine because he created that hype. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, he created the hype machine.
Right.
And he
Exactly.
lived up to the hype machine to
Mhm.
an extent of the point to get him where he was going. It was just that I wouldn't say if Sebastian was drafted to the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't know if the Portland at that time was the right fit for Sebastian Telfair. You see what I'm saying? I'm if Bashi, I remember he played in Minnesota, he was having great numbers. He played in Phoenix, he had some good years. But if Bashi was drafted, okay, if Sebastian was drafted to the Spurs, I feel we'd be having a different type of
Yeah,
conversation.
that's true.
So it's people look at it as just what you did on the court, but it goes all into the players. Draymond Green, if he wasn't drafted to the Warriors, he wouldn't be Draymond Green. And the second round. You know what I'm saying? He could say he feel bad being drafted second round, but that's the best thing that could have happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing that could have happened to you. And that's what goes in. So I look at all aspects. I don't look at just, because I think I played in the game and I feel like I fit the billing for some of these takes. So that's why I can't just look at it as, this person is this person is that. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I won't consider Sebastian and Kwame Brown in the same light. You know what I'm saying? Because it's different stories. It's different times.
And that's the political thing that you were talking about, you know? That's where outside of the game of basketball, I've always, as we've been talking to people, I've described, we're talking about basketball as a job. You know, it's
of course
talk about X's and O's, but it's a job.
It's what
exactly. It's networking, all that stuff.
It's actually more than people. It's actually more to go into it than some people would think about their 9 to 5. I believe, because one thing about a 9 to 5, you go, you do this, is over. In basketball, you could clock in and clock out, but in your mind, you're like, I didn't do enough. I could go back to the gym. I could be in the house and do push-ups. I could do this. I could do that. It's really a full day, full mental. And then sometimes the thing about let's say what you guys do on a daily basis, everyone has a boss. Let's view the coach as a boss. But in a 9 to 5, sometimes you don't even have to see a boss. You just got to do what they give you for that day, and that's it. But in basketball, you could do everything you want in a day, and then your boss just don't vibe with you right. Your coach don't vibe with you right. He don't, because your boss have his own method, and he wants his players to do what he wants to do. Some 9 to 5, just get it done. Go to McDonald's, you flip burgers from 9 to 5, just make sure the burger's good and you get it done and you go home. No one's going to look at the burger and cut the burger up and do all this stuff. Just get in there and get it done. But in ball, like a coach, he has his system. You come and you play for him in his system. Even if your game don't fit his system, the great coaches adapts to the player and have a conversation where this could work for me and you. But some coaches is like, nah, if you don't fit my system, then you don't know what to do. It'll make, and then in your mind, you have to just do what he wants you to do. This is what kind of happened to me. He kind of makes you want to do what you want to do, and then you lose yourself. And I know a lot of players could sit there and say this, that they lost themselves in basketball. And every time basketball has felt like a job to me is when I knew I had to get out the situation. Because this is something I would wake up and go in the park and just play for fun. That I love. That's one thing about me. I truly love the game and I give my all to the game. But the love is what keep me going. The wanting to prove that I have so much more to give that I haven't gave yet, that and to an extent, I hopefully break through with a political and everybody could really just see my full basketball game. And sometimes that's why, even when I'm in tough situations, that's what I tend to go through. That's why I like with Shaq. Shaq texted me the other day when I was leaving this team. He's like, yo, bro, just keep your head up. It's gonna fall through for you. Like I know, you know, like you work, you got it. Like, and that was, he wouldn't know it, but that meant a lot to me. That's one thing with my peers and people close to me. He wouldn't know, but that hit me because he sees, like me and Shaq went through battles. He's seen the practice. He knows my full extent of everything I could do. And he really, to him to say that out of nowhere, I was like, I just keep your head up. Other than yourself, a lot of people know that the situation was right for you, but you got a lot more to give. And that's what keeps me going, keeps me wake up, keep me wanting to get to the gym and carry on.
And that's a pretty good segue, because you came out, you talked about it being a job, you know, talked about the political side of it. You came out at a real bad time. You came out in 2011. That was right in the middle of the NBA lockout. No summer league, no free agent camps.
And I tell people this too, like that lockout doomed me. because I wasn't as like I was so hot at the time. I didn't get drafted, but I was so hot with so many teams. I had a great Portsmouth. I had great workouts. It was workouts where I walked out of there and like I had Knicks workout. They called me back. I had a Warriors mini camp. And they're like, yo, like, you know, if I would have fit the billing of one of those going to summer league or going to the D League at right away and getting a 10-day and sticking type, the way of my buzz was as hot. And the lockout just deterred me, which went to Europe and still had a solid Europe career. But I think that my mind and seeing a lot of players I've played against and from in the pre-draft going to work out in Vegas and Impact, working out with Kawhi, Jordan Hamilton, Jacob Pullen, Josh Selby, Corey Fisher. These are the guys I'm working out with, all these big name players from big schools. And I'm like, people are like, oh, who's that? That's Delroy James went to Rhode Island. All those stuff just build me up. Like from college going against battles of Kyle Singler, Chandler Parson, Marshawn Brooks. They're like, oh, nah, Del's tough. Del's, you know what I'm saying? That's my peers seeing them, or my peers seeing, and just being saddened that the higher ups, the people that honestly, that didn't play basketball, honestly, that just, it is off of reading, it's off of, they study the game more so, but not much the eye test of the game. And they control your life more than you do at that point. I think that's the biggest thing to not having the political side on your side, is that you could do whatever you want. But this person that knows the game to an extent, that won't even see a practice or really see anything, that will just look at numbers and assume your game based of numbers, and they're just watching control your life more than you do. Because my biggest thing coming out of college was like, he wasn't a consistent shooter. But whatever, look at the games, look at what I do on the court, look what I translate to, how I play. Look at all of that and see where it could get him. But you just see this number on the 3-point percentage and, oh, he's not an NBA player because of that. You don't rate every player on that same scale. Or Draymond Green wouldn't be drafted. You see what I'm saying? Or Michael Kidd-Gilchrist wouldn't be drafted. Like second overall and now out of the league. So if you rate it based, so he had all the political aspect. He had a John Calipari. He had a Tom Izzo on his side. That's just the difference of the political that could get you in the door, and people not realizing how much aspect. There's a lot of players that have been through it, other than myself, that's going to continue to go through it, and hopefully the players take their own, like any political they got, they fight it to the end, because it's really going to help.
Here's a question for you. All right, so you're saying political. And it's not that I'm saying it doesn't have to be like on the scale, you know, one end or the other.
It's no scale, right?
But here's the other question. Do you think it's also, obviously politics is some of it, but do you also think that some of it is also, all right, you've only gotten maybe 2 draft picks, you know, depending on how you move, maybe only 1, maybe only 3 or whatever, but usually 2. Mm-hmm. Do you think that with something like that a lot of organizations are afraid to get it wrong, and that they default to guys or to programs that are bigger names, like, you know, a Calipari, Kentucky, an Izzo, Michigan State?
100%, because you go to what you know. You know what I'm saying? It's unless it's so dominant, like a Weber State, Damian Lillard, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wonder who you could have been talking about there.
Exactly. You always go to what you know, because for every bust in a Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who's the top 2 pick, you have Anthony Davis. You got a Tyler Hero coming out of Calipari with Kentucky. You got a Bledsoe. You got those players. But for every Damian Lillard, there's who? You know what I'm saying? From a mid-major. You got both of them on the same backcourt.
Exactly, CJ McCollum. Yep.
Same backcourt. And that's what it is. So you just stick to what you know. You could say, because if you drafted Delroy James at a time in the 2nd round, and then the next pick is someone from, let's say, Kentucky, and you don't pick him, why would you take that kid from Rhode? They won't even say my name. They would just say, why would you take the kid from Rhode Island when you have somebody from Kentucky right here? That's how it would go. You know what I'm saying? And that's that's just the nature of it, to be honest. If I had my same numbers in the Big East or in the SEC right now, from a Kentucky or Miami or ACC, we're having a totally different conversation sitting here today.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't be able to land here.
You know what I'm saying? That's how it happens. That's how the cookie crumbles. So it'll be other people in my seats for sure, but it's just a messed up. It's just crazy when you think about it, how that could just drastically change someone's life or
it's the twists and the turns of it, how
It's
it
a
all
twist
could
and
just
turn.
go. It's almost like Plinko, like from Price is Right, where it just, if it goes this way, you win a lot of money. If it goes that way,
that's
you
how
get some.
so much people are so happy for the stories of Damian Lillard than the Kentucky of Anthony Davis, because you just don't see it. You know you'll find another Anthony Davis maybe next year. You draft him, and the next year here comes Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep.
We still waiting for a Dame Lillard.
Yeah, the next one.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So that's how it just happens, man. It's funny.
So I'm going to jump in here and steal what is still some of Tony's main point about how basketball is a job. So Rough Time obviously had the opportunity potentially to be in the NBA, but because of the lockout and some of the twists and turns it took that way. Your first stop was in Israel. You kind of hinted at it a little bit before, that your brother played overseas, that he had an agent. That was the agency you were going with. Your first stop in Israel was the same team that he had been on. He'd since moved on. Yeah. Was there a connection there that almost essentially was like, hey, this is somebody who you know?
Well, not really, to be honest. Not really. Didn't know the team at all, actually. Just ended up happening that way, you know? And Israel, I actually left Israel mid-season too, in February or January, before I went to the OKC D-League team. And for you to say that, that's why I said not really, because if it was someone I knew before, I wouldn't have left the way I left. So at the time of my brother did wonders for this team, was MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, before he moved on to EuroLeague team.
And see, this is exactly why I thought that maybe since he had moved on, it makes me wonder. When I looked at your history, I kind of thought to myself, now, wait a minute, even though he wasn't on that squad anymore, either there must have been something favorable or some sort of connection.
No, and this is how when it became a job in the business side. So at the time, the team we're all rookies. Talented as hell, but literally all rookies. I had a full Baylor connection. And it was a lockout, so I had a couple of NBA guys coming. Jason Hickson came into play for a little bit. FK Udo, Trevor Booker, before the lockout. So, but the core guys was myself, Lace Dunn from Baylor, and Sweetie Carter from Baylor. Both Baylor, all Baylor guys. So it was Baylor up. That year we had four coaches from August to, I want to say, mid-January, end of January. 4 different coaches. So I left there averaging 16-point-something points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. This is my rookie year as a pro. Great numbers when you look at paper, great numbers. So it was a game before, it's so surreal. It's a game before we played against a team, and the coach said, hey, only you and Tweety could really create you guys' shot. I try to get everybody involved, play the game, create, whatever. So I'm going into the fourth quarter. I took 4 shots of the game. I have 8 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. This is the game. So it's like 4 minutes left. We're playing against my brother, actually, my brother team. So it's like 4 minutes left. The coach comes next to me and start yelling at me, like in my face, like literally in front of me, like, shoot the effing ball. Why didn't I shoot? I'm like, what? I'm like, you literally told me to create. I'm doing your job, what you want. I'm playing. I got like 7 to 8 assists. I'm rebounding. I'm not forcing nothing. I'm not, what? Like, what do you want from me, yet? So we lose the game to my brother. Then the next morning is the day off. I want to say like 12 o'clock there. I get a text from my agent saying the team wants to let me go because I breached contract by not shooting the ball. And by not showing the ball. So one thing I always tell people when I tell this story, I wish I saved that email. Because I really wish I could have read and see. And I'm like, wait, what? So this is what I'm saying. It was blasphemy. It was ridiculous. It was the craziest I ever felt about the situation. And this is why I say they had no ties to what my brother's done, because my brother's right down the street 7 minutes in his new team. And they didn't look at me in that way to be like, oh, nah, like, that's Sean's little brother. That's his life. That's his nothing. boom, that's it. Based on a disagreement with the fourth coach in my rookie year as a pro, and I'm averaging 16, 7, and 3 assists. Like, come on. Even that situation, I think, pushed my European career back as much as I thought it could have go forward. Even stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, what? It was crazy. Like, and that's why I could always sit and say, oh no, it was no ties, because you don't move like that. Like, it's a respect value between stuff, and that showed no respect, like no respect at all.
So going back to when you actually landed in Israel, was there any sort of connection that or did it just happen to be that was the team that was most interested in you or gave the best offer?
That was the team that was most interested in giving me the best offer. Plus, in my mind, it was a connection because I knew my brother was going to be there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he was 7 minutes away. My nephews was just born, my twin nephews. Him and his wife was there. We were pretty close. And I had my other friend was there, Ramel Bradley, who ended up going to Kentucky, was there. I had an ex-teammate from college. I was there. So it was just an easier field to translate into.
So this is almost kind of like how the meme that's circulating a lot now is like how it began and how now it's going.
Exactly.
Except in reverse.
The city life was good. Everything was good. The basketball was good. Other than us losing, I was playing well. I was finding my groove at the time, and it was crazy. It was really interesting. It was really, really interesting.
So you did rebound for, no pun intended, you went to Italy for a couple seasons, couple different clubs after that, right? Well, not directly after. I know you said you went to the D-League at that point in time, but afterwards you went to Italy, right?
Yeah, and where I feel like I got my European career back on track. Went to Italy, loved Italy, played 4 years straight there before moving around and around. Italy was also a joy. Played with some hell of players there. Elson Turner, Marcus Dedman, Jacob Pullen, James Mays, a lot of really good. Following Campbell, he was on that team I was telling about. Aminu, Alade Aminu. Just honestly, just been me and a lot of good players, man, around the time. And Italy was fun. Even on those teams, you play your role, you understand what you have to do, but it was fun because the coach let you be yourself. Where I was telling you, the dynamic of me and my coaches in Italy, in Brindisi, the city I played in, the coach let me be myself while also trying to be his guy. And as much as you want to fully be yourself, you also have to know you have to do something what you think the team's going to win. But it's never a dominant figure of, oh, just do this or just do this. It's do your part to make us win. And that's why I was so comfortable in Italy, the times I played with that coach. And also the other time, my first year in Ike, where I had the understanding of the coach is, hey, you can play your game, but also play ours. You know what I'm saying? And it's never really fully worked for me where it's like, hey, just do this. Because it's like, I'm not a selfish player. I'm such a player that's willing to sacrifice for the team. But you have to let a player be a player. You know what I'm saying? This is why most players do good with coaches that let them play free, that let them play their game. That's like coaches that played the game because they've been in the shoe of you. Hey, like, you played, you understand. You know what I'm saying? Instead of someone that just read a book on how coaching is and read a book on how plays in, is not willing to connect with the player on the level of what you need them to do.
So a couple of years in Italy, you said you had a pretty good time in Italy.
Yeah, I loved it.
You in between two stints in Italy, you went to Russia.
Yeah.
We recently had a player on the show that played in St. Petersburg. Where did you play in Russia? What was that like?
Who was the player?
Will Thomas. He's still there, actually.
Well, he went to George Mason also. Yeah, he's definitely still there. I played against Will when we was in Italy. He was on the team in Italy and I was on the team. So I was in Siberia. It's this place. Yeah, it's
warm
this
this time of year, I hear.
warm never. So it was this place called Krasnoyarsk.
Ah, yes.
And when I tell people this, they always say, "What?" I had so much fun that year. I don't know if it was because of my teammates. We won games in the city I loved, and I want to say I had fun. Yeah, maybe because of my teammates. A guy that went to GW, Tony Taylor and DJ Kennedy, all of us bonded, and we played for each other, and it was just really, really, it was really fun times, man. And people always say, but it's so cold. I always say, I didn't live outside. So like one thing about Russia, they don't really give you vehicles. Most places in Europe, they give you vehicles, but they didn't give us a car. So we had a driver that pick us up for practice and et cetera, take us to practice. But we met this guy, we would call him Super Cab, and we got his number, and he became part of us. Like every time we needed, we'll hit him up. He became our cab driver. Like we'll give him extra money or whatever. And anywhere we needed to go, Super Cab was it. He would wait for us. And he was just a genuine, sweet person. We all just bonded with him on a different type of level. So Super Cab made it easier for us. But people didn't understand how I had so much fun, because the travel was one of the most damning thing I've ever been through. Like, so it's 4 to 5. I think it's 5 hours or 3 hours. It's a 3-hour time difference from Moscow. So it's kind of on the same time base as China. So I would be 11 or 12 hours from the house, from my family back home. Every time we left, it would be 5-hour flight to Moscow and then to wherever our destination was. So say we also played in the FIBA Europe Cup at the time. So we have back-to-back away game, like away game in Moscow. We'll be away from Siberia for like 11 days. Because it made no sense going back to go. Not. Yeah, so we will be away for so long. You just pack, we'll be in the airport, and then when we land back in Siberia, we'll be like, we're here. You know, so just the travel was the biggest mishap, but everything else was dope.
Yeah, Russia is only one country theoretically on a map. Right. It is many countries
right.
in practice,
right,
as it were.
Right.
Wanted to skip back past a few places that we've already talked about, various people's experiences there. You're the first person on a show, though, that I believe has played in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your time in the Philippines.
And this is why I would always wish my career was in this market or in the Asian market, like a Philippines or a South Korea before the new rules, or I would say China. And I'm still trying to scratch the surface of getting into there now. So God willing, and hopefully it happens for me, because I think I got 2 or 3 great more years left doing this. So the Philippines was the first time other than college where I met a coach and he say, just play basketball. Just go like pickup, right? Because you're the only import. Just go like pickup and you play your game. And you just play. You play for the team to win, but you play your game. No X's and O's much, put you place in the right position, but you really, I give you the ball, you just play your game. And it was my fun. I needed that at that time to know I could still do that. That's why I say the COVID messed up me going back to the Philippines last year. Hopefully I could get back this year, because they do their seasons in 2 to 3 month span. It's not like a Europe, a full segue. So yeah, hopefully it was dope, man. I lived in Manila, and the thing about there, the travel is not bad because it's no home court. It's 2 big domes, and every team played in those big domes. Everyone's in Manila.
Interesting.
It's no other teams outside of here, no team outside of there. And Manila is a beautiful, beautiful city. I've seen all the good parts. Maybe it's bad parts, but I didn't see those parts. And they put you in a nice suite of a hotel you stay in. You have a driver. He's an amazing guy. I call him Pikachu. Amazing guy. So it was dope, man. I would recommend, if you get the Philippines to finish the season, you should definitely do that.
And you didn't run into another Mason guy, Gabe Norwood.
I was going to say that too. Yeah. Gabe Norwood, I think, is a pretty big player over in the Philippines. We haven't had a chance to necessarily talk to him, but I think he plays for is it the Elasto Rain or Shine?
Rain and Shine. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, did I play? Does he have a passport?
I don't know what he's considered, because I think his mom is from the Philippines. He actually might be considered Philippine.
So he plays, you see, okay, so he has a passport. So he plays all year round. But see, with imports, it's a 6'5" and under league, and it's a 6'10" and under league. And then for the Filipinos, they can play 6'5", 6 under, and the all Filipino league. So they play all around.
So that's interesting because he is 6'5". So
yeah,
but so that helps him though.
Yeah,
that helps him in terms of money wise because he's tall and he's Filipino.
Yeah.
So that's dope. That's dope.
How many imports per team were allowed in the Philippines?
One.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Just one foreign player at all.
One foreign player, and you could have all Filipino Americans as you want.
Wow.
But one foreign player. Yep. So if I had a Filipino passport with this height, it would be like you'll be living swell.
For sure.
So with the Philippines, you mentioned there's really only 2 domes. What's that like? Since you said there's not really a home court advantage and everything like that. What are the fans like?
No, it's not a home court in terms of traveling, but if you have more fans than me, that dome's gonna pack with and hear your fans. Like, you know what I'm saying? You still have fans. You still feel like you're playing for your fans. You used to have your section of fans here or in your section there. It's kind of like a NCAA tournament feel when all the schools come out and you still know your fans are there clapping you and cheering you on.
And so would you say, I mean, I don't know if this is to the best of your knowledge, but I mean, how does that work if you've only got 2 domes and, obviously one team is the home or whatever, what's the allotment like? I mean, is it 50-50 or is it?
I honestly wouldn't know. Like,
Okay.
I wouldn't know only because I haven't been there long enough to see it, to garnish it. You know what I'm saying? I was there for a month maybe. But when I was there, it seemed like we had a decent amount of fans, and so did they. But I wouldn't know how is it on a normal basis or who's rival, who's this, who's that.
We'll probably ask you. We'll probably jump back at some point to what are the differences between fans as you see them. But another thing, since we're kind of on Asia, you did get to play in South Korea, correct?
Yeah, I played in South Korea and it was amazing. I would never say nothing bad about it, but I just played there at the wrong time. I feel like because. I played where it was a rule where we couldn't be on the court with the other imports. So South Korea have 2 imports, and you couldn't play on the court with the other imports. So when they sign you, they let you know you're going to be our second import. Minutes going to be whoop-de-woo. This is our top guy, whatever the case may be. And I was signed as a second import, which is fine. I've never been so. I'm playing my game the way they want me to and doing my job. And I just felt like if I mentally was more selfish in my mind, I could have stayed there for the rest of my career. But I think it was all on me to just go in there and just, one thing about, they're very sensitive culture. So if you go in there adamant and yelling and they don't like that. So I try to be too safe. That's basically what it is. I was just trying to be too safe. And I'll get back there, but it was just trying to be too safe at that time. And I think that messed me up based on these rules. But if it was us on this court at the same time, I think it would have all went well, like perfectly for the rest of my career.
And so South Korea, though, is also another interesting one in terms of, I mean, you got to be in Seoul, so that's obviously kind of nice. Yeah. But I mean, what was the arrangement like there? I know that when we talked to Shaq, he was saying that it was kind of weird to get your paycheck and it was like, oh, it's from LG or from some of the other companies. And he's also kind of talking about the facilities as well, which I guess are kind of with the KBO, which is the baseball equivalent, almost kind of like these campuses. Did you have something kind of like that?
Yeah, I loved our facilities. It was probably my favorite thing to be there. Me and my other guy we loved it. You'll go on your day off. The weight room's amazing. You have a sauna, a cold tub. It's not just a cold tub. It's like a sauna, just cold. Like it would be like -17 and you just get in the water. It was amazing. We'll get in there. We'll put our whole body in for like 20 seconds under the water and just get right out. Just feel right rejuvenated. So it was, we loved the facilities. And they everywhere at that time, Shaq went to LG. Everyone was living in the dorms, but at that now they switch it to apartments for the basketball players. But the dorms are still active if any Korean want to stay there.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Tony?
Yeah, many of the people that have come on the show have raved about time in Spain, and you spent some time there. Was it as good as everyone else has said it is? Shaq actually said he basically is ready to live there after he's done playing.
No, that was Will.
That was Will. Sorry, yeah, Will.
Oh well, Will played in Malaga, which is beautiful.
And Valencia as well, but yeah.
And Valencia, yeah, like lived on the beaches and did all that stuff there. So
he described this townhouse and everything like that, and I had to butt in and I was just like, why did you leave?
yeah. So it was,
I know why, but yeah, it's certainly.
Exactly. So I played in Murcia, and it was COVID really didn't let me see Spain as much as I wanted to, because after that COVID happened, but Murcia was dope, beautiful, palm trees, bright sun. My house had a pool in the backyard, personal pool. It was dope, and I feel like I never got to fully enjoy that. I jumped in my pool a couple times during a workout just to be an idiot, but I never fully, like enjoyed it. But I could see why everyone loves Spain for sure, though. It was really, really beautiful, and I just want COVID to be over. It put a lot of more stuff into perspective in anyo's life.
Boy, what a bold take. You just want COVID to be over.
Actually, I love it if it just went on forever.
But no, some people love it. You see, myself, I don't go out much at all. So I don't have that heartburn. No, I just know.
I can see that.
I just know for people, and economy wise, it's dampening.
Yeah, there are some positive aspects of it. I mean, in terms of course, I think that you kind of get to almost refresh and see what's important to you. But yeah, I
feel many people got close to their family, I would believe, or not so close.
Yeah,
they see stuff to, so
yeah. If they were able to be with them during that time, which a lot of people aren't. So
right,
that's the tough part. It's just a matter of what your situation was, I guess.
Exactly.
And so obviously you kind of finished off in Greece. I know you'd been there before, but I mean, almost can you kind of compare and contrast, being in COVID this past time in Greece to your time before in Greece?
Yeah, of course. I didn't do anything. Like, I just went to practice, and I lived in Athens now. So I was in Athens 2 years, and now I was in Patras. So of course I would just go grocery store, practice, go home, didn't do anything. I go eat sometimes, but nothing crazy. I actually got COVID too in Greece, and I don't know how. Like, basically how I caught it. I did the same thing. Never went out. Never practiced home. Grocery store, masked up, cleaned myself. So, but I definitely contacted the virus, and I was probably not the lucky ones, quote unquote, but I had one lower back symptoms for the day, and that was it. Every other day was just normal. Yeah, it was like I really was just like nothing else. But first day I had lower back, and then and people say they get fever. I didn't have a fever, but I had a low fever, which was weird. I went the opposite way. It was weird, but nothing hurting. Just my temperature was low. But so that was it. Yeah, that was it. And I was chilling. I was still in the house working. I was doing push-ups and abs every day, and just chilling.
So we asked Tony Skinn. He was born in Nigeria, came to the U.S. at an early age. If that helped him having a different experience than someone who grew up in the U.S. and then going back overseas, and not having traveled much out of the U.S. if someone is born here. Looking back, when you came from Guyana at the age of 7, I mean, did it help you as an international basketball player? Did that experience, being someone who had already experienced something overseas, help?
No, that's being bluntly honest. That didn't help me, but me being born there, and I think I tried to touch on this before. Me at 7 years old compared to a kid growing up these times at 7 years old, I was so much more advanced. I was, meaning, more independent. Like, the things I've seen at 7, the things I've been through at 7, like, I got hit by a motorcycle, terrible stuff. People look at, like, where were your parents at 7? Getting hit by a motorcycle, falling off a roof, just feeling like I was a man already at 7, like, walking to school alone, just in that environment of being in Guyana. It was crazy. And that had hardened me. You know what I'm saying? That's what made my mom, I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm the youngest boy. My mom always said, no matter where I travel, no matter what I do, she never felt like she ever had to worry about me going through anything, because I've always had that independent nature of always being able to take care of myself. I don't ever feel like if I wasn't born in Guyana for those 7 years, if I would be that way. Me personally, I don't feel like that. It's just a thing where like I always felt comfortable alone. Like I always felt comfortable because I don't know what it is. I always felt comfortable alone. Like, yeah, I miss my family. I miss my son. I miss everyone greatly. But I've always felt comfortable. I don't know if it was being born there because, you know, my mom and my father, they left me and one of my other brothers alone. We're not alone with my older sister and my uncles, but my parents left when we were 5. And then we was just up there with them at the time. And 6 and 7, we were doing stuff that at that age, you look at kids now, they weren't handling that type of pressure at that age at all, not even a little bit. So if anything, it's helped me, harden me. It showed me how to be a man or how to just grow up. And it taught me respect. And that's the biggest thing in everything, where in anything you do, just have respect in it for the person you're doing it, right or wrong. Just have respect, say you understand, and just being from there, I think that taught me that. And that's my greatest lesson I would want to teach any kids I have, any kid in the world. Just have respect, because that goes a long, long way.
Delroy James, it's been great to have you on the show today, and good luck to you during these COVID times. Hope you get back overseas to play some more ball.
Thank you, sir. Thank you guys for having me, man. It was a pleasure. Anybody listening, tune into Expat Hoops, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, whatever you guys got, Facebook, man, just tune in, man. This is going to be big, and you don't want to come to the bus stop late.
We're going to be big in Lithuania pretty soon, I'm sure. I know.
Let's go.
Take it easy, Delroy.
Have a good one.